Hello and welcome to Jill Cameron Creations. Today we are using some of the stamps from the December Hedgehog Hollow kit, and I am in love, no pun intended, with this kit. It is all about the hearts. It is so cute. It is so pretty. The sentiments in it are awesome. So I am using the Zentangle heart that's included in the set, and I am white. I'm going to heat emboss it, and I'm going to use white embossing powder. Most watercolor paper is slightly cream colored, and I wanted the heart to be really white, and that's why I'm using white embossing powder on this. So I went ahead and stamped this in Versamark ink, and don't forget to use your anti-static powder tool, because watercolor paper also has a lot more texture to it than regular like Nina Solar white that we usually use. So that paper is going to hold that embossing powder a whole lot more. So just make sure you use your anti-static powder tool so that you don't have stray embossing stuff everywhere. Now the next thing that I'm going to do, since I'm going to do some watercolor resist on this, is I'm going to tape this down to my hardboard that I have. And I'm actually paying pretty close attention to make sure that my lines and stuff around the edge of this are pretty straight, and I really don't want my paper to tear, so I'm just using washi tape because I have really good luck with it, and I am able to pull it off without any problem. So I'm trying to make sure that my lines are pretty straight on this all the way around. I am going to cut the panel down a little bit just to put a border around it, with a stitched rectangle frame later on. But right now I just wanted to make sure that I had everything squared up around the edge of this. This is just to hold my paper pretty still while I'm doing this. I'm using the Altenew 36 half pan watercolor set with Altenew watercolor brushes, and I wet my paper first, so I'm doing wet on wet, and I put a base layer color down, and it's a really light pink, and it's kind of almost a peachy pink. It's not like, oh my gosh, it's pink. It's just a really light, warmish pink, I guess is actually a better term for it. It's a warmer pink. And what I'm going to do is put this down everywhere and go outside of the heart for just a wash. And I'm making sure that there's no real harsh lines around the edge of this. And then I'm going to dry it with my heat tool. And I dry in between each layer of this, and it makes all the difference in the world, because your colors aren't mixing and your colors kind of stand out in the specific areas that they're in. Sorry, I got choked and I had to pause everything and go back, get something to drink real quick. Excuse me. Alright, so I have a puppy dog in my lap right now. I have a kitty cat that's sitting here staring at me, and I'm not exactly sure why. Now, one thing that I did find was that I don't have necessarily the control with a water brush that I do with a regular brush of being able to put down a lot of water in one place or to soften something out. So I did pick up I have the set of brushes from Nuvo, of the paint brushes, and I picked up, it's about a medium round brush, and I just picked that up, and it's nothing but water in it. It's just clean, clear water that I sprayed over there to the left on my mat so that I would be able to soften lines out with it, and it doesn't have any color in it at all. It's just plain old water in that. Now I'm going to change up my color here, and I sprayed some additional water on my mat so that I could clean my water brush off a little bit easier than having to squeeze it and get the water out of it. And then I'm going to pick up another color here, and this is a purple color, and I'm sorry I don't have them memorized, and it's across the room from me, and like I said, I have a dog in my lap, so I'm not disturbing my puppy dog right now. She has, I believe she has some razor burn on her tummy from where we got groomed the other day, because it's been so dry. Yes. So we're putting some ointment and coconut oil on it so we're not itchy, right? Yeah, so we're not itchy. Okay, that's enough baby talk to the dog. Back to the card. So I'm just doing the same thing over and over and over again with different colors, and I am drying in between layers here, and I'm trying to bring out some of the detail of the stamped image, and in the pictures you'll really see how beautiful this stamp is, and bringing out the different details, and it's a very, very detailed stamp. And I wanted you to see all of my workspace, and I should have zoomed in a little bit, and I thought it was a little bit closer than it was. I think when I was doing this, I thought it was on my Copic coloring setting that I have, and instead it wasn't. It was on my regular card putting together setting, sorry. So all I'm doing now is just doing some finishing touches. I'm going to dry this one last time, and then I will do a couple different things here. And one is going to be off camera, which I'll talk about really quickly. I use, if I don't have a coordinating die for a stamp set, a sentiment, or anything, any stamp set, any sentiment set that I have, I will put it on my Silhouette pick scan mat, take a picture of it, and run it through and die cut it that way, using my Cameo 3. I do not have a 4, I still have a 3. It works really, really well for what I use it for, so I'm not planning on upgrading anytime soon, but I'm sure the 4 will do the exact same thing that the 3 does. Now I'm going to go ahead, there's some hearts that are in the stamp set as well with the Be Mine sentiment, and these hearts have like little loops in the middle, and I made sure that they were all offset. When you're doing things around as accents, keep the number odd. Don't put even numbers of things around, because your eye will automatically kind of draw to it. If it's an odd number. If it's an even number, to your eye it looks a little weird, so I did an odd number here. There's 5 instead of 6. I did these in a pink ink from Altenew as well, and then I stamped over them with Versamark ink, and I added silver pearl embossing powder. And the silver pearl embossing powder lightens up those hearts because it's not exactly clear. It gives that pearl color to it. It lightens them up, where I used, I think it was coral berry, which is a pretty dark color, but once you add the embossing powder over it, it lightens it up to where it matches perfectly, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So now I'm going to stamp the sentiment, and I stamped the sentiment in Versamark ink, and I used black embossing powder on it. And like I said, I cut this out with my Silhouette Cameo using a pick scan mat. I'm not very good at fussy cutting. I'm just not very good at it. I don't keep a white border around it. Even if I'm cutting it right up against something, I'm not very good at it, so I don't tend to do it that often. I will use my Silhouette way, 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 way easier than I will my fussing cutting skills. Now, when I did this the first time, it wasn't dark enough. So, and you'll see a huge difference in this. So I set the black embossing powder aside. I put it back in here, made sure that it was really snug down, and I put anti-static powder tool on it again. Really, really, really good. I inked up my stamp, stamped it one more time, and then I put black embossing powder over it once more. Made all the difference in the world to do that twice. It's a very raised sentiment. It is dark, deep black. It is absolutely gorgeous. It is nice and shiny and solid. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. So don't be afraid to use black embossing powder. I know it does show up on absolutely every spec, and that's why that anti-static powder tool when you're using black embossing powder is so important. But there's something about black embossing powder that makes it, the depth of it, so much better. Whereas you can usually tell if you use black ink and clear embossing powder over it. There's nothing wrong with it, but you can just kind of tell the difference in the depth of the black. I'm putting this on a pink top folding note card, and that matches it. Honestly, I have no idea what brand of cardstock that is. More than likely it's some from Stampin' Up. I'm using some scraps and things that I have left over that I'm trying to use up some different things. Instead of giving them away or just have them set here, I'm trying to use up some of my paper and things in my craft room and be more frugal with my my products. The other thing that I'm using here, I am using the new scrapbook.com foam strips, and I absolutely love them. There's like 36 strips on this thing, and I'm able to trim them down, cut them into any bitty teeny tiny little pieces. The paper, release paper, comes off of it amazing, and it was just perfect to pop the sentiment up on this Hedgehog Hollow card. Amazing, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So there's our finished card, and I think the only thing that I add to this is some jewel drops, some Nuvo jewel drops, and I really didn't have a color that I liked that went with them really well, and you'll see that I test out a couple different colors here, and I ended up going with some jewel drops that were the strawberry Coulis, I think is what it is, and it's a little bit red for me, but that's okay. They show up really well. One thing that I have to do with mine, for some, I guess where I was down in the basement and it was kind of cold down there, some of them got a little chunky, so I have to warm them up really, really well before I use them. And for whatever reason, this particular bottle of drops does not want to even out. They will stay pointed, and I actually do a bigger drop here, and you see it fell over. Just take a craft knife, scoop it off the paper, and make it stand up. That's the only thing you can do at that point. Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget to head over to the Hedgehog Hollow and get your December kit today. And as always, the products are linked below. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Have a great day.